I made over $100,000 with my freeze dryer. But for you to understand the financial opportunities that are available with owning a freeze dryer and starting a business using your freeze dryer, let me first tell you about why I bought a freeze dryer. It was early 2020 and my wife was 3 months pregnant with our first son. Unfortunately, she lost her job temporarily. The people in the healthcare industry that she was working for actually ended her job over a Zoom call. And I remember the emotions that were going through, especially myself and my wife. But then something turned around in my brain, which was my entrepreneurial spirit. And I decided to get a part-time job as a pizza delivery driver for Papa John's. Within that same week of me getting that part-time job with Papa John's, my friend approached me and said, "Hey, for some side hustle income, have you ever seen people selling freeze-dried candy on Etsy?" I'd never heard of a freeze dryer. I never even heard of freeze-dried candy, in fact. So I looked it up on Etsy and I saw people selling bags of candy for $9, $10 a bag, even freeze-dried fruit and ice cream. And since my friend and I were jointly kind of thinking about this, we split the cost of the freeze dryer and bought a Harvest Right freeze dryer for around $4,000. And throughout the 4 years that I own my freeze drying business, I've really learned what freeze drying is all about. And if you're not familiar with freeze drying, it's essentially the purest form of food preservation, because once the moisture is gone, you have a lot of options to store that for long-term storage. But freeze drying is so experimental and so much fun and uses a lot of creativity that people started doing a lot of different things, including what you're seeing a lot of, which is freeze drying candy. So coming from someone who has owned a business for 4 years now with a freeze dryer, what's available for you today if you want to buy a freeze dryer and start a business? I go through a lot of this in my YouTube channel called The Freeze Dry Business. You can check out my links in the bio to go to that YouTube channel, and you can subscribe and also search and browse all my different videos. There's two ways to think about what to do with your freeze dryer if you're wanting to start a freeze drying business. Number one is look at ways that you can create your own product from scratch. Do you have your own soup recipe? And you could freeze dry that soup into little tiny bouillon cubes. Then you could sell it as a meal on the go or something for camping. And that way people can buy your product that's freeze dried and just add water back in to make it that soup that everyone loves. The second thing is you can just modify things that already exist. You can also sell freeze dried mushrooms, freeze dried fruit, freeze dried vegetables. All these things are available to you to sell as is once it's freeze dried, instead of trying to create something brand new. If this is giving you a little bit more knowledge about freeze drying and you want to learn more about what's possible with starting a freeze drying business, go to the links in my bio and become a follower of my social media accounts. That way you get access to the freeze drying community, as well as people who are interested in freeze drying as a business. Don't forget to like, share, and follow. I'll see you on the next video.